Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, today's hosts are Hema and Madan Dadlani. Let's give them a... Oh, okay. Very good. And we also are celebrating Hema's birthday. Is that correct? Yes? Hema's birthday? Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, dear Hema. Hare Rama to you, my dear Lord Krishna. Bless Hema on her birthday, that she becomes free from anxiety, that she gets peace in her heart, and that she continues to do her nice service for you, Lord, day after day. And may she feel your presence in her heart. Let's all bless her. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, come on. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So, Madan, my good friend, has requested that I speak about Ratha-yatra. Since next month is your Ratha, I saw on the schedule, the whole month is Ratha-yatra. It's a Ratha-yatra month. So first, let me offer my mantras to all of our deities, and then we will dive into it. Aing Gurave Namaha, Om Parama Gurave Namaha, Gan Gan Pataye Namaho Namaha, Hung Hunamate Namaha, Om Bhagavati Durga Devi Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Sring Subhadraya Namaha, Om Gopijana Vallabhaya Namaha, Kling Goraya Namaha, Kling Nityanandaya Namaha, Shraung Nrsinghaya Namaha, Sring Kling Radha Krishnabhyam Namaha, Sring Rang Sita Ramabhyam Namaha. We have invocated these Mula mantras for all of our presiding deities. Now we invoke auspiciousness by remembrance of our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who accepted me as his disciple on April 15th, 1974. Om Apavitra Pavitro va Sarva Avastangato piva Ya Smarit Pundarika Akshang Sabhaya Abhyantara Suchihi. Everybody, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. Om Adhyana Timarandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurandilitang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangung Langhayate Giring Yat Kripa Tamahang Bandi Sri Gurung Dinataranang Yat Kripa Tamahang Bande Paramananda Madhavam Trinadapi Sunichena Toror Eva Sahishnuna Amani Namana Dena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kuro Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatir Anyata. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, when Madan requested this class, I meditated for practically 2 weeks on what to present. And even as of last night, I was conflicted, confused. Then, sometime this morning, I got the text message. So, first thing, disclaimer. I only know about Jagannath and Ratha-yatra because of my spiritual master. I don't know anything other than what my spiritual master has taught me. We sing in ISKCON temples every day, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Akya Ar Na Koriya Mane Ash. The real follower of Srila Prabhupada only wants to hear that message, that sound vibration, or his recording. Doesn't want to hear anything else. That's how you can detect a real follower of Prabhupada. So this, what I have brought, is from Prabhupada's writings. Let's first of all, please repeat. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. So Prabhupada has written about Jagannath Ratha-yatra in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we get to see how 500 years ago Lord Chaitanya would celebrate the Ratha-yatra. On the day of Lord Jagannath's bathing ceremony, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy at heart. And upon actually seeing the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, Lord Chaitanya became very, very happy. How many attended last year's bathing ceremony? Yes. Very nice. Are we doing it again this year? We're having the bathing. But when Lord Jagannath retired after the ceremony, Lord Chaitanya became unhappy because Lord Chaitanya could not see Jagannath. Due to separation from Jagannath, Lord Chaitanya felt the same great anxiety the gopis feel in separation from Krishna. In this condition, Lord Chaitanya gave up all association and went to Alalanath. Afterwards, Lord Chaitanya washed and cleaned the Sri Gundicha temple with the assistance of many devotees. For 15 days, Lord Jagannath remained in a secluded place with the Supreme Goddess of Fortune, performing pastimes with her. Prabhupada now comments on this. After the bathing ceremony of Jagannath, which takes place a fortnight before Ratha-yatra, the body of Lord Jagannath is repainted, and this takes just about a fortnight to complete. This period is called Anavasara. There are many devotees who visit the temple to see Jagannath regularly every day, and for them, Jagannath's retirement after the bathing ceremony is unbearable. Lord Chaitanya felt Jagannath's absence very much from the temple. The word Anavasara is used when Jagannath cannot be seen in the temple. After the bathing ceremony, Snana Yatra, Lord Jagannath apparently becomes sick. That's an interesting word, apparently. Because in essence, Krishna is the controller. Krishna has a spiritual body. So even if he were to get sick, it would be for him ananda, ecstasy. Unlike us, we live in a dualistic world. In the material plane, there is a difference between happiness and distress. But on the absolute platform, there is no qualitative difference between happiness and distress. Apparently becomes sick. Jagannath is therefore removed to his private apartment where no one can see Jagannath. Actually, during this period, renovations are made on the body of the Jagannath deity. This is called Nava-yovana. Then, during the Ratha-yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath once again comes before the public. Thus, for 15 days after the bathing ceremony, Lord Jagannath is not visible. This 15-day period of Anavasara is also called Nibrita, in honor of the solitary place where the supreme goddess of fortune lives. And after living there for a fortnight, Jagannath takes permission from the goddess of fortune to leave and ride on his chariot. In this connection, now that was Prabhupada's purport. Now he quotes his own spiritual master, because that is the way of spiritual speaking. You have to support your statements by the words of the authority. So for the disciple, as I said earlier at the beginning, the words of the spiritual master are the life and soul of the disciple. So that's another point. If one is actually a spiritual master, he must also have a spiritual master. You cannot become self-appointed. No. You have to surrender to a spiritual master, and by following your spiritual master strictly, then you become qualified to become guru. That is called disciplic succession, parampara. You cannot be voted in. You have to actually be the obedient servant, strict obedient servant of your spiritual master. Then you are authorized. In this connection, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati comments that as an ideal husband, Jagannath remained 15 days in a secluded place with his wife, the supreme goddess of fortune. Nonetheless, Jagannath wanted to come out of seclusion to give happiness to his devotees. Now we get some more detailed information, confidential. Listen carefully, this is confidential. Krishna enjoys himself in two conjugal ways, known as Swakiya and Parakiya. Krishna's conjugal love in the Swakiya rasa relates to the regulative principles observed in Dwaraka, where Krishna has many married queens. But in Vrindavan, the conjugal love of Krishna is not with married wives of his own, but with his girlfriends, the gopis. Therefore, the conjugal love with the gopis is called Parakiya rasa. So Lord Jagannath leaves the secluded place where Krishna enjoys the company of the supreme goddess of fortune in Swakiya rasa. And then Krishna goes to Vrindavan, where Krishna enjoys the Parakiya rasa. Bhakti Siddhanta says that this reminds us that Krishna's pleasure in Parakiya Ras is superior to Krishna's pleasure in the Swakiya Rasa. Now we get some more information. The word Daita refers to one who has received the mercy of the Lord. Jagannath has a number of stalwart servants known as Daitas. These servants do not come from very high caste families such as Brahman, Kshatriya, or Vaishya. But because they are engaged in the service of the Lord, they have been elevated to a respected position. Thus, they are known as Daitas. The servants of Lord Jagannath take care of the Lord from the day of Ratha-yatra up to the time the Lord is carried from the throne to the Rath car. In the book Kshetra Mahatmyam, these Daitas are said to come from the Shabbaras, a caste which keeps and sells pigs. However, among the Daitas, there are also many who come from the Brahmin caste. Those Daitas coming from the Brahmin families are called Daita Patis, or leaders of the Daitas. The Daita Patis offer food such as sweetmeats to Lord Jagannath during the Anavasara period, the resting time after Ratha-yatra. They also make the early morning offering of daily sweetmeats. It is said that during the Anavasara, Lord Jagannath apparently suffers from fever, and that the Daita Patis offer Jagannath an infusion of drugs represented by fruit juice. It is said that in the beginning, Jagannath was worshipped by the Shabbara caste, and at that time was known as the deity Neelamadava. Later, when the deity was established in the temple, the Lord became known as Jagannath. Because the deities were taken from the Shabbaras, all the Shabbara devotees were elevated to the position of Daitas. That original Neelamadava deity is no longer in existence. And therefore, Jagannath appeared as originally as a log coming down from the ocean. And the story is that a carpenter appeared who was actually Vishvakarma, or you could say Krishna himself. And he told the king, yes, I can make you deities, but I shall not be disturbed. Do not open the doors. If you open the doors, I'm gone. So for 2 weeks behind closed doors, this carpenter, he was fashioning out of this big log the 3 deities. But after 2 weeks, the king, the queen, they became apprehensive because they were no longer hearing any sound coming. Usually if you're working, there's some sound. So they didn't hear any sound. So what did they do? Open the doors. Immediately, the carpenter disappeared and the deities were half finished. Some say that was Krishna's arrangement. But that's why the deities look the way they do. They're unfinished. And how to finish? With your devotion, with your love. with your service. Now, here are some benefits of attending Ratha-yatra. What day is the Ratha-yatra? June 25th? Okay. Here is the benefit of attending Ratha-yatra. A person who sees Lord Jagannath on the Rath car and stands up to receive the Lord can purge all kinds of sinful results from one's body. Then it says, even if born of a lowly family, a person who follows the Rath car when the deities are passing, whether in the front or from behind, will surely be elevated to the position of equal opulence with Lord Vishnu. So those are what we call incentives to attend. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is extensive description of how Lord Chaitanya would observe Ratha-yatra every year. And for Lord Chaitanya, observing Ratha-yatra was a very high spiritual, emotional performance. So, the Chaitanya Charitamrita gives us a glimpse into how Lord Chaitanya would internalize. Being always absorbed in the ecstasy of RadhaRani, Lord Chaitanya felt the same separation from Krishna that RadhaRani felt when Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura. This ecstatic feeling is very helpful in attaining love of God in separation. So just to refresh ourselves, when Krishna was 11 years old, Akrura was sent by Kamsa to bring Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan to Mathura. And Kamsa very openly, frankly admitted to Akrura, yes, my plan, Akrura, is you bring Krishna and Balaram so I can kill them. Now, Akrura is a great devotee of Krishna. So you can imagine what Akrura was thinking. What? I have to bring Krishna and Balaram to be killed? But Akrura thought, well, at least I'm getting an opportunity to see Krishna and Balaram. And of course, the day came, he arrived in the evening, he stayed in the evening, explained everything to Krishna, Balaram, Yashoda, Nanda. And when Akrura told Krishna and Balaram what was Kamsa's plan, Krishna and Balaram laughed. They laughed very heartily, because they said this Kamsa is such a fool. So that next morning, Krishna and Balaram are on Akrura's chariot, and the chariot is leaving. So Radharani and the gopis, their hearts are breaking. They cannot stand to see Krishna and Balaram leaving. Krishna and Balaram is their life and soul. So Krishna very cleverly told Radha and the other gopis, no. I'm just going to Mathura to kill a few demons. I'm coming right back. No need to worry. But what happened was, yes, Krishna killed Kamsa and some demons. And then Krishna did not return. Because when he saw Vasudeva and Devaki now, after 11 years, his real parents, he told Nanda and Yashoda, well, you've had me all these years in Vrindavan, but my real parents, they have missed out. And this is when Nanda and Yashoda learned the truth, that actually Krishna was not their son, because the babies were switched. Yashoda gave birth to a girl. That girl was taken by Vasudeva the night of Krishna's appearance. And when Kamsa heard the crying baby, he thought, oh, it's the 8th child. But then he saw it was a girl. He said, never mind. The omen said it's an 8th child will kill me. Kamsa took the baby and was about to kill it, and the baby flew out of his hands and appeared as Durga Mata, angry. And she chastised Kamsa. Now Kamsa was a worshipper of Durga Mata, but she was not happy with him. And she said, the child you're looking for is already taken birth somewhere else. But she chastised him, called him a rascal. That's very strong language. Call somebody a rascal. So then she flew away. Meanwhile, Krishna for 11 years is in Vrindavan. So now that Kamsa has been killed by Krishna, the truth comes out. So Krishna tells Nanda and Yashoda, let me spend some time with my real parents, and then I'll come back. And they, okay. So they all the residents of Vrindavan, they went back to Vrindavan. But the problem was, then Krishna got entangled. He got entangled by only marrying 16,108 wives. That's all. But he became entangled because each wife had 10 sons, and each of those sons had 10 sons, and each wife had one daughter. That's called a joint family. Big. So it was not so easy for Krishna to come back. And if there was ever talk of Krishna returning to Vrindavan, Vasudeva and Devaki would in so many ways stop it. Because they knew, if we let Krishna go back to Vrindavan, he won't come back to us. This way, there's competition for Krishna. If you have Krishna, you want to keep him. Just like we have Radha and Krishna. We will do anything to keep them here, right? We'll lay down our lives to keep them. That's called love. Okay. So, you could say for Lord Chaitanya, the principle that he based his emotional experience with Jagannath dates back to the time of Krishna. That once there was a solar eclipse. So by this time, Krishna has grandchildren. So there's a solar eclipse, and the residents of Dwaraka have decided to go to Kurukshetra. Because before the battle, Kurukshetra was a place of pilgrimage. It was considered a holy spot. I think it's still considered a holy spot today. So, the residents of Dwaraka, all the wives, everybody went to Kurukshetra to observe the solar eclipse by doing sacrifices, austerities. And it just so happens, the residents of Vrindavan also arrived at Kurukshetra. Now, the residents of Vrindavan and the residents of Dwaraka are almost like family members. They're connected, they're close. So it was a great occasion that they met after so many years. And that section that is explained, that whole solar eclipse, covers many, many chapters of the Bhagavatam. Madan can tell you, we studied that in our weekly Krishna book class. Madan is one of my best students. Yes, attends every program. Every program. So, the residents of Vrindavan and the residents of Dwaraka, they met. And there was the scene where Draupadi meets all of Krishna's queens. Now, Draupadi, one of her names is Krishna. Many different meanings, but one also indicates that she herself is a great devotee of Krishna. She is a great devotee of Krishna. So, Draupadi asked the queens, how is it that you got Krishna as your husband? I want to know. So, starting with Rukmini, all the 8 principal queens shortly, very briefly told their story. Let's see if we can remember the 8 queens. So first is Rukmini. The second wife was Jambavati. The third wife was Satyabhama. Now the next is Kalindi, Satya, Bhadra. I'm missing 2. One is Lakshmana, Mitravinda. How could I forget my daughter's name? So they each told their story. And then as far as the 16,100 queens that Krishna got bargain sale, wholesale at one time. Yes, at one time. So the leader was a queen known as Rohini, not Balaram's mother, but her name is also Rohini. So she told her story. And Draupadi was so happy to hear how each of these queens got Krishna, because she would have loved to have been Krishna's wife. That was that much a devotee. So after this, Krishna meets the parents. Then there's a private meeting with the gopis. Like sometimes you do private meetings behind the closed door. So they snuck off to a secluded place. And there was a very, very interesting conversation. Especially Radha. Radha was saying, what is this? This is not the Krishna I know. This is Yadu Kumara. This is a prince. Here at Kurukshetra, there are horses, and elephants, and chariots. Where is the Krishna playing the flute? Where is the Krishna that I know on the bank of the Yamuna, the moonlight, the cool breeze, and the different flowers? That's the Krishna, not this Krishna, dressed as a prince. So the gopis and Krishna had some philosophical talk. Yeah, the gopis were actually very highly philosophical. You read their prayers and their statements. Gopis are great pundits, great. They know so much high philosophy of spiritual life. So one of the things was that the gopis were feeling, because Krishna was absent since he was 11 years old, the gopis since then have been living their lives practically like ghosts. In other words, they're doing their activities, their housework, but where is their mind? It's on Krishna. They're going through the motions, eating and taking care of the family, and ladies, you know what it's like, right? Taking care of, as I've said many times, nobody works harder than a mother. Am I right? Yes. So, but yes, they're doing everything, but their mind is on Krishna, remembering so many different incidents that they experienced personally with Krishna. And at some point, they just break down crying, feeling so much separation. So Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that feeling of separation, that's the topmost spiritual ecstasy. It is called Vipralamba Seva. That, okay, if you don't love somebody, you don't miss them when they're gone. Right? We've seen that in the material world. When this president goes down, oh, good riddance. And now with this president, we'll see what happens. But you move on. So, when you, because who loves? But when you love someone, now, and they're missing, that's called pain of separation. Same thing. Sita Ram. When Sita was apparently kidnapped, Ram and Sita were both experiencing intense separation, as I said earlier. Still, it's ecstasy. But externally, Ram is crying, Sita is externally. But for them, it's bliss. So they also experience this Vipralamba. So this is Lord Chaitanya's mood. Lord Chaitanya's mood is always feeling that intense separation, that mood of separation from Krishna. So at Kurukshetra, when Krishna and the gopis and Radha are talking, and Krishna is speaking some, you could say, jnana, some transcendental knowledge, the gopis aren't buying it. They said, we already heard this from Uddhava when you sent Uddhava. And stop this. And the gopis explained how they knew what the real thing is. And all they want is to always be in that mood of loving Krishna. So there was some talk. And maybe someone suggested, Krishna, why don't you take all the gopis back with you to Dwaraka? Radharani said, no, we're not going to Dwaraka. We want you, Krishna, back in Vrindavan. That is how Lord Chaitanya worshiped Jagannath. Lord Chaitanya was in the mood, the sentiment, the bhav, the complexion of Radharani. And he sees Jagannath, Krishna, on the cart, and we're pulling the cart, we're pulling Krishna back to Vrindavan. Who wants to take Krishna back to Vrindavan? Yes. If you don't raise your hand, watch out for RadhaRaman. You want to bring Krishna back. So, back 500 years ago, when Lord Chaitanya was observing Ratha-yatra year after year, so the Jagannath temple represents either Dwaraka or Kurukshetra, depending on your angle of vision. And where does the Rath parade end? At the Gundicha temple, which is also known as Sundarachala. And that represents Vrindavan. So the whole Ratha-yatra is pulling the cart, and little by little, we're taking Krishna back to Vrindavan. That is how Lord Chaitanya, and he does his chanting, and he does his dramatic dancing, and he's in this ecstasy. I'm bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. Now also, as depicted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you read those chapters, chapter 10, 11, 12, 13, 5 chapters of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I read them every year as a refresher, get me in the mood, Ratha-yatra. So there are many subplots going on. So one of the subplots is the king, Maharaj Prataparudra. And he's desperately trying to get an audience with Lord Chaitanya. And he's very intelligent. He knows he cannot approach Lord Chaitanya directly. So he has friendships with Sarvabhauma, who is the head of the Jagannath temple. And he says, put in a good word for me. See if you can arrange my meeting with Lord Chaitanya. But every time someone brings it up, Lord Chaitanya says, no. I am a sannyasi. I don't want people thinking that I'm going to the king to beg some alms. No. I want nothing to do with this king. But Sarvabhauma and others say, but he's your great devotee. Doesn't matter. He has that infection. King, I cannot be seen with him. It would ruin my reputation as a equibalanced sannyasi. So that several times different people, Ramananda Roy said something, Nityananda said something. So little by little they wore down Lord Chaitanya, and he said, okay, I think it was Nityananda made a suggestion. Why don't you give one of your pieces of cloth? This way the king would live, because the king was practically saying, I'm going to commit suicide if I can't see Lord Chaitanya. So Nityananda said, give him one of your pieces of cloth. This will keep him alive. Give him some hope. And when the king got that cloth, he would worship it like a deity. Then another devotee, probably Ramananda Roy, Lord Chaitanya said, all right, bring the king's son, the prince. He's okay. So when the prince, he was just like 7 years old, they dressed him to look like Krishna. Very clever. So when Lord Chaitanya saw the prince look like Krishna, Lord Chaitanya immediately embraced him. And the boy was shivering from spiritual ecstasy. And when he went home, Prataparudra embraced his son, and he also felt the ecstasy. In this way, this was the first installment of mercy of Lord Chaitanya. But still, he could not get a private darshan. So the day of Ratha-yatra came, and Sarvabhauma, he told Prataparudra, okay, this is what you do. When the Rath car stops at Balagandi, there will be a break in the procession. At that time, the deities, everybody makes their offerings. All the people are allowed to make an offering at that spot. And Lord Chaitanya will be in a garden taking rest, because he will be exhausted from his dancing and chanting and exuberance. At that time, So Sarvabhauma told him exactly what to do. So when the parade started, the king Prataparudra came out as a king, and he brought a golden broom, and he swept the road for Jagannath. And when Lord Chaitanya saw that, he goes, mentally he made a remark. Yes, he will be blessed. This king has humbled himself to be a sweet street sweeper. So the parade is going on, and there are 7 Sankirtan parties all around the 3 carts. And Lord Chaitanya performs a miracle. Although there are 7 different kirtan parties, each party is thinking and seeing, Lord Chaitanya is in my group. He's not in anybody else's group. But he was present in all 7, and Prataparudra begot to see that. That was another blessing. Lord Chaitanya gave him the eyes by which he could perceive that Lord Chaitanya was dancing in all 7 parties. Then it goes on, and at one point, Lord Chaitanya, out of exhaustion and ecstasy, falls down on the road, right in front of the king. And for some reason, nobody's there, nobody notices, none of his assistants, or because he had bodyguards, so to speak, and assistants. But they got distracted. Nobody saw Lord Chaitanya fall to the ground. King Prataparudra picked him up. And Lord Chaitanya knew exactly what was going on, but he had to again play the role. So when he was picked up and he came to consciousness, he goes, oh, I'm touched by a king. I'm contaminated. But Prataparudra was very happy to pick up Lord Chaitanya. Then the Rath cart stops, and just as Sarvabhauma instructed, now the king doesn't come dressed as a king. He comes dressed as a simple, ordinary Vaishnava. Simple cloth. No king, no, just simple dhoti, wrapper. And there's Lord Chaitanya lying on a stone slab. And he's half in ecstasy, half external consciousness in between. Sarvabhauma told the king what to do. You massage Lord Chaitanya. And while you massage him, you chant the Gopi Gita, the chapter in 10th canto, the supreme chapter. There are 335 chapters in Bhagavatam. That chapter is the crown jewel, Gopi Gita. So the king is massaging Lord Chaitanya, and he's reciting, and then he gets to one verse, Tavakatamritam, and then Lord Chaitanya sits up and embraces the king, and he glorifies him. Oh, you have done so much for me, reminding me of Krishna. Oh, you. And Lord Chaitanya then reveals to the king some special opulences. So as I said, Lord Chaitanya is half external, so he knows it's the king, but he's being merciful. And so he reveals some special opulences and tells the king, do not tell anybody. This is for you. And then Prataparudra finishes up. He pays obeisances to all the devotees and leaves the garden. So much mercy Prataparudra got. And so much mercy you will get if you participate in Ratha-yatra. In spiritual life, you don't get you don't get out what you put in. You get more than what you put in. Prabhupada used to tell us, You take one step to Krishna, Krishna will take 10 steps to you. So there's so much benefit coming to Krishna. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath. Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath. I want to thank the Dadlani family for sponsoring this Namahat. Let's give them a big Hari Bol. And thank you, Madan, for choosing such a delicious topic. And I became inspired and I tried my best. Thank you very much. May Krishna bless you, protect you, maintain you. And if you liked the lecture, if you liked it, let management know. That's all. Hari Bol.